Hello and welcome to Spirit Touched. Blessed be the tie that binds our hearts in Christian love. The fellowship of kindred minds is like to that above before our Father's throne. We pour our ardent prayers. Our fears, hopes, and aims are one. Our comforts and our cares. When we asunder part, it gives us inward pain, but we shall be joined in heart and hope to meet again. Galatians 3:28. Now let's talk about ties that bind. Ties that bind us together are our common beliefs, faith in God, trusting God, worshiping Him together, praying for each other. It's His love for us that ties us together. The cords that He uses cannot be broken. Why? Because we are washed in His blood, and that's what makes those cords and us strong. Those cords bind us to Him and each other. His cords are heavenly. Earthly ones keep us bound to this earth and our sins. It's those heavenly ones that make us free. His cords are around our hearts and not our hands. The strongest cord is the truth of His holy word. There's an old saying that our word is our bond, and a handshake seals the deal. God's word is His bond, and the blood of His Son on the cross sealed the deal. That's why it's so important that we be promise keepers. God has cords too. Proverbs 6:20 through 23. They keep you from immoral behavior. And Proverbs 7:3. His cords help us to live. They guard us. In Isaiah 61:1, it tells us His cords bind up broken hearts. I got the idea for this lesson while watching our wonderful athlete ambassadors and how they were bound together with a single purpose to do their best and be good sports while doing it, to hug each other and fellow athletes from other countries when they won or lost. Then I watched one of the conventions and saw how the delegates were bound together with joy and new hope. Right now, this nation is torn apart by hate and so much more. If we do not find a way to become reunited, we will fall. Those young athletes and delegates were showing us the way. It's okay to disagree with each other. The real trick is not to let those disagreements tear us apart from God or each other. We are one nation under God. That's what makes us united. Under His sovereign leadership, we will stay that way. It's His leadership that makes us strong. It's the cord along with His love that unites us. Don't get bound up in lies, unforgiveness, pride, bitterness, resentment, conceit, greed. Those are the cords Satan binds us up with. Instead, get bound up in God's cords. You will find a list of them in Galatians 5:22 and 23. Living under those ties bring the blessings. Don't be like Haman and get hung up in Satan's evil noose. Instead, get hung up in God's mercy and grace. When you get bound up in Satan's ties, all he does is cut you loose and laugh at you. When you get bound up with Jesus, he never lets go of you, and he only laughs with you. When you are anchored to Jesus, he never lets you drift out of his sight. Don't practice lying. It only gets you caught up in a web of deception. There are ties that keep us bound to God. They are praise, thanksgiving, and prayer. When Satan tangles you up in his ties, call the foreman and ask him to come untangle you. There's no reason to fear death because Jesus broke its ties with his own death and resurrection, giving us total victory. When we are tied to Jesus, we are homeward bound. It's being in the family of God that ties us together and keeps us united. Forgiveness breaks most of the ties we get tangled up in. There's a common thread that runs through our stories, even though each of us has a different story of how we came to Jesus. It's that thread that binds us together as a community of believers. You may send your prayer request to heanswerstwo@gmail.com, and we'll ask him to help you be bound up in Jesus.